want to say a few words today about the tricks of the narcissistic trait. And these are often common garden tricks that are used by very narcissistic people. It doesn't have to be people with NPD or anything of that sort. And we always need to bear in mind that we don't need to judge, but these are just tips to help to safeguard us in our use of our safe relationship toolbox. And the tricks that I want to highlight today are the types of behaviours that narcissistic players and people engage upon in relationships with us sometimes that could be out of our awareness, and we may not even be aware that it's happening. And so I want to highlight a few of these tips, if you like, today in order to help us to protect ourselves and also to become more aware in future so that we can take appropriate action, because that way we empower ourselves when we take action and do what we need to do when we deal with people. And one of the first tricks that are very common with narcissistic and abusive people in general, or could be just someone who wants to get themselves off the hook really and maintain the facade, because the facade is the most important thing that certain types of people need to maintain, because without that they will lose potentially important people and situations in their lives. And one of the tricks that they will use in order to maintain the facade, the mask, is to blame the victim that they have been abusing, so that the attention is taken off of them and placed on the victim, and potentially the victim is then re-abused by other people. And this trick is used very commonly in order to deflect blame from an abuser or someone who wants to apportion blame to the very person that they've been abusing. And when you're in that situation, it can be difficult to see what is happening because of the effects of the relationship that you've had with this abuser over time could have had such an effect that you're unable to leave and possibly unable to defend yourself, particularly when you then have other people trying to blame you for what the abuser is doing. My next point, which is akin to that, is that as a result of the victim being blamed, other people will then come along potentially and use second-hand abuse, which means that they use the information that has come from the abuser in order to abuse the victim. And therefore, the perpetrator is painted in a good light, and the victim is kept in that one-down position and scapegoated over potentially a long period of time. And another thing that is akin also to this situation, which develops, as you can see, is that the potential abuser that has been creating this scenario where the attention has been coming their way, but the blame has been put on the victim, they have in fact shifted themselves into a victim role. So they've autocasted the victim as the perpetrator, and they've shifted themselves into the victim role. And so autocasting is often used in these situations. And this can be out of the awareness of everyone involved, because the player's mask is so good and so convincing. And narcissistic players and abusers are extremely good actors, and you will often see their facial expressions change in an instant, depending on who is present and the context of the scenario that is playing out. So often a victim will see one persona, and the rest of the people in the scenario will see another persona, and these will switch backwards and forwards accordingly, depending on the abuser's needs at that time. Another trick of the narcissistic trait is to use other people to flirt with, and so they will often use social occasions in order to flirt in front of their partner with other women or other men, in order to manipulate the partner's emotions. And it could be a party or a work function, it can be anything that can be used so that the player gains attention from the other person that they're flirting with, and also it has the purpose of affecting their partner's self-esteem and confidence, because it's saying, in a way, that that partner is less than. So sometimes with social occasions, narcissists can ignore the partner altogether, whilst giving lots and lots of attention to other people. So these are things that we can observe and use in our safe relationship toolbox. And when we look at observation as being a skill, a self-mastery skill, we can use it in order to take care of ourselves, because we can note these things down in our relationship log and use them when we need to make important decisions as far as our safe relationship training is concerned. Now, in order to manipulate and control a victim or partner or other people, they often will use people by speaking to others about the victim behind their back, and a type of character assassination, if you will, in order to place the victim in a one-down position in other people's eyes, which can result in the person being ostracized and treated in a less than manner by other people as well. And those people lack awareness often of what is happening. The victim is unaware of what is happening at those times, potentially, until they get all this weird behaviour from people that do not appear to know them. And it's because their perception of the victim has been coloured by the narcissistic abuser, and therefore they are controlled by proxy. They're controlled through other people. Other people are used as tools to control the victim, particularly if the abuser is jealous of the victim and they don't want to lose the facade. They will not allow the facade to slip on any occasion unless it's absolutely necessary. And so maintaining that facade is very important. And so a lot of the work that they do is through other people because they don't want to be seen to be doing it themselves. And all these tricks is in order to manipulate and control the environment of the narcissist so that they control everyone within the game. As always, stay safe and very happy. Bye-bye.